they look like regular knee highs, which especially during winter, I get it. In the summer in Arizona, no thanks. No thanks for the compression stockings. But everywhere else, compression stockings really just look like regular socks. I will say I'm not sad when I take them off. Um, yeah, but if you have lower leg pain, if you have um, feet pain, anything like that, I think they really can be helpful, and people just don't. They just don't talk about it very much. So I thought, you know what? Let's talk about the compression stockings. So basically, what the compression stockings do is they help the blood that is pooling in your legs push it, shunt it would be the word that we use in the medical fields. It shunts it back up to your heart. So instead of pooling there, creating swelling, if you have leg swelling, I don't know. Is anybody wearing compression hot stockings? I would love to know. Tell me in the comments. If you have pregnancy questions, tell me in the comments. I would love to answer them. But I just don't think people talk about the socks enough. I started wearing them as a nurse just because being on your feet that long hurts. And I ended up really appreciating them. Now, when I take them off, you can definitely see in my leg the impression of the EKG, which is sort of dumb, but compression socks during pregnancy. Anyway, I'm just gonna be looking at some stuff online. Man, it is quiet in the internets today. So compression stockings, they just help the blood and the fluids in the bottom of your legs shunt it back up to your heart. I think they're great for everyone to wear when they're on planes. I wear them when I go to Disneyland. I wore them as a nurse because standing on your feet that long can just be really painful and really annoying. So that's why I recommend them. And there's so many cute colors. You can buy them at Target. I forgot mine to take to Disneyland once, and I ended up buying them at the Target there. So it is an option. In case we haven't met, hello, I'm Hillary. I'm the pregnancy nurse. I've been a nurse since 1997. I have 20 years of labor and delivery experience. And I am here to be your bump to bassinet bestie. We have a question. Plain Jane said, how can I monitor bilirubin before birth? Before birth, you are managing the bilirubin for your baby. You manage all of the waste for your baby. So bilirubin is something that when we break down our red blood cells, which we do all the time, bilirubin is something that's part of that breakdown. And we are peeing it out for our babies. We're pooping it out too. We do that for them. But once they're born, we can't do that anymore. And so they need to do it. So there's no way for you to monitor the bilirubin for the baby ahead of time. If bilirubin is an issue with you, you can get blood tests. That's really rare. It's just once the baby's born, the main way to get the bilirubin out of the baby is to feed them and poop them and to get those wastes out of the baby's system. So that's bilirubin. If it doesn't, then the baby starts to look yellow, which we call jaundice. And most hospitals will do a bilirubin test on the baby before they go home from the hospital. So if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. It is usually like a heel stick that they do at the on their heel. I'm currently struggling with anxiety at 26 weeks. Any advice? What are you anxious about? Tell us in the comments. Is anyone else feeling anxious? Tell us in the comments. I mean, how you're going to attack it really kind of depends on what you're anxious about. Is it just generalized anxiety? If that's the case, you might want to talk with your provider. If it's anything surrounding birth, I would 100% recommend taking an online birth class or an in-person birth class. Just because preparation is really going to make you feel a lot better about giving birth. And in case you guys didn't know, I have an online birth class. It's available 24/7. It's called the Online Prenatal Class for Couples. If you go through my link in bio, you can find it super, super easily. Is it true hand expressing colostrum at 27 weeks is dangerous and can cause preterm labor? Any extra stimulation in that area is not our favorite. I don't know that I would call it dangerous. It could start contractions, which we definitely don't want. But honestly, I don't know why you would do it that early. That's 3 months. 3 months. You're going to keep colostrum in a freezer for 3 months before baby's born in little syringes. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. It doesn't, like, the reasons you're doing it doesn't make sense to me. And there's no reason to have a giant colostrum store before a baby is born. I can definitely see the small syringes of it and stuff like that. But is it common not to feel any symptoms before a positive test? I didn't feel any symptoms hardly at all with my first baby, period, in the first trimester. So besides being a little extra tired, but how do you even know that's a symptom? So not unusual. And most people don't start to feel nauseated until about 6 weeks, and usually you would have taken a test by then. When I got pregnant, I just noticed so much anxiety overall, especially at night. So I would recommend taking a birth class that is going to help you know the signs and symptoms to watch for, so that you can kind of rest your mind at ease about the other things that are happening during pregnancy. I would recommend talking with your provider, because if you have anxiety during pregnancy, it can extend to postpartum anxiety, which could extend to postpartum depression. So you might want to get on something or see a therapist. I think it's so smart to have someone in your sphere who, if you end up having an issue postpartum, especially, you already have touched base with them. So seeing a therapist ahead of time, talking through the anxiety, getting some tools to help it. If you guys are asking questions, there's so many things that are coming up. Asking it again if I don't get to it. So I mean, it's a real thing. Anxiety is a real thing. I was anxious during my pregnancies. I wish I would have talked to my provider, maybe gotten on something, maybe gone to a therapist and gotten some tools, some breathing techniques, affirmations. Because as a labor and delivery nurse, we feel extra anxious during pregnancy. Is it common to feel this way during pregnancy? Yes. A lot of people are extremely pregnant, or they're extremely pregnant. They're extremely anxious during the pregnancy, but it's not good. And we're hoping that we can fix it. I mean, there's so many things that are common during pregnancy that I hate it when providers are like, oh, it's common. But we want to fix it. Let's see. I'm exclusively pumping. One broke, so I'm pumping for an hour at a time, one, and then go to the other. Girl, get a different pump or something. That is a lot of time. I really like the Eufy pumps that I've seen. I actually like the brand Eufy. We use their vacuum, and we have some of their home security at our house. But Mariah, I'm not sure what your question was. Or supply, reoccurring problem with pregnancy, any advice? Not really. I would definitely go to your provider, make sure the basic labs, thyroid, basic hormones, especially thyroid, are looking good, and then see what they recommend. You don't need to go like straight to fertility, but you're going to want to have your basic labs checked to make sure that they're doing okay. Oh, Tori, your pump comes in 3 days. That totally sucks. I hate pumping. So God bless. Make a paper chain to count that baby down. Should I always be worried if I get severe HG with all 3 pregnancies and now my 4th, I'm not as sick? No, a lot of people just say some babies are less, some are more. I would just be grateful, just be happy. Hopefully things simmer down. What affects size percentile? My first baby was 40 and current baby is 95. I'm scared. Carly, you want to make sure that you don't have diabetes. I mean, that's the first thing they check for. It is surprising. Same dad. A lot of times, different dads can affect baby's size, but some are just big and some are just little. Like if you look at a family, sometimes there's just a little kid and then like one that's shorter and then a larger one. So yeah. I would be a little bit nervous if I was you. That being said, if it's only been one ultrasound, they're notoriously bad. Yeah. It like keeps scrolling me back up to the same messages. I'm sorry, Journey Baby Stratton. That really sucks. But I'm not great at fertility stuff, so I would just keep talking with your providers and see if there's anything they recommend. Mariah, good luck. Hopefully you are pregnant. If that's what you're wanting. Probably you are. Yeah, Mariah, I'm super happy that you don't have it this time too. That is miserable. So, Carly, you want to make sure that you take the diabetes test with this pregnancy, just to make sure that that's not the issue, because you're more likely to get it on subsequent pregnancies. My first two went in the NICU with high bilirubin. My daughter had to have a blood transfusion. Yeah. She had a blood transfusion for bilirubin, high bilirubin. Maybe I have seen that. I'm sorry though. This is not full on advice, but if I perpetually had babies with high bilirubin, I would not want delayed cord clamping, because that only adds to the blood volume that they have to eliminate in their system. That's just something I've always thought. Just me, because the idea is that it's adding to their blood volume, but it can increase their bilirubin. So maybe talk with your provider about delayed cord clamping. Dang, Mariah, I'm so glad that you're feeling so much better this time. Should I be nervous for your third baby? Oh, you mean for the bilirubin? I mean, if your other ones have had it, it's likely. So I think I would mentally be trying to plan for the fact that they're going to be under lights, might have to go into the NICU, stuff like that. But you just never know. Some are okay, some are not. Oh goodness, Journey of Baby Stratton. I'm so sorry. After having preeclampsia once, is it common for it to happen again? It is, Tori, and so that's why they recommend that if you've previously had preeclampsia, to start aspirin by 12 weeks of pregnancy. So talk with your provider. I don't know how far along you are or whatever, but talk with your provider to see if that's right for you. If you guys have questions, ask them in the comments. I think I am all caught up. It's not very busy today here on the live. Turns out Friday mornings, I guess, not very busy. In case we haven't met yet, hello, I'm Hillary. I'm the pregnancy nurse. I'm a nurse, been a nurse since 1997. I have 20 years of labor and delivery experience, and I'm also the creator of the online prenatal class for couples, which is the easy way to get prepared for birth. So many of you guys in here have questions about pregnancy and birth, and I think it is so important to get a birth class in. It really puts you ahead of the game in regards to making decisions during delivery and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys have questions about my class, I'd love to answer them in here. Let me know. You can also always find it through my link in my profile or at onlineprenatalclass.com. Oh, you can't get rid of melasma after your last pregnancy. I do not know. That would definitely be a question maybe for an esthetician to see if you can like laser it off or something. I have no idea. Sorry. I do know that a lot of people, it takes like a long time, or maybe it doesn't even all the way go away, which is a real bummer. Anyway, Myobi said, I have a subchorionic fluid collection. Can you explain more, please? I think that means that there is fluid between the placenta and the wall of the uterus, but I'm not sure. Usually, I see a subchorionic hematoma, which is like a bruise or something like that. So usually they'll just watch it, so that it could be the fluid collection is the same as a hematoma, which is just a fancy word for bruise. So usually they just watch it. A lot of times it'll get absorbed and just disappear, but it is something you need to watch. How does gestational diabetes make the size go up? I've had 3 ultrasounds and we've been in the 90s. Because you have like this extra sugar just floating around, baby gets more of it and it gives them more growth. Yeah. Can it bleed? Yes. If that's what it is. I've never heard it called a fluid collection, but the hematoma can bleed. So any bleeding you need to take really seriously and get right into labor and delivery. There really isn't anything that they can do about it at this point, though. So But you need to know that it's not that unusual. I get questions about it on probably 75% of the lives that I do. I didn't talk much about it when I worked labor and delivery, though, because it's usually resolved by then. So, because through my whole pregnancy, it would come and go. It bleeds often. Yeah, so that could be it. But talk with your provider about if there's signs or symptoms that should make you go right into L&D. My gestational diabetes test is still 4 weeks away. Is there something I can do to not test positive? Not this far out, but I do recommend that the day before, just don't go crazy with the glucose. I've had patients who tested high and then they're like, well, I had a cherry Coke before I went in to get my blood drawn. And I'm like, why did you do that? They used to have you fast before it. They don't do that anymore, but sometimes people are just silly about what they eat. So the day before, I would just really try and balance your carbs and your proteins. There's really nothing you can do to prevent it. And you want it to catch it if you have it, for sure. So you don't want to like cheat just to pass the test. But yeah. And pro tip, when you go in for it, make sure that you take in, and this goes for the 1 hour or the 3 hour even more, make sure that you take in food that balances proteins and carbs. I always took in peanut butter and honey or jelly sandwich with a lot of jelly that I could start eating as soon as that final blood draw was done, because your blood sugar just comes crashing down and you feel like craptastic. Just had my boy at 34 weeks. Those mag bags are no joke. Type 1 diabetic and never felt worse. Oh, they are the worst. So sometimes we give something called magnesium to help prevent seizures with preeclampsia. So eclampsia is what happens when it extends to getting seizures. So yeah, mag is the worst, but also the best, because we don't want people seizing. So Kelly said she's producing, I'm guessing you mean breast milk, and my youngest is 3. God bless. All my breastfeeding questions I send to the breastfeeding mama, although I've also seen Mama Nurse Tina also has had some really great breastfeeding information lately. So yeah. Carly said, did I cause it? I've craved sugar this whole pregnancy, or I've been a bit extra with it. No, you can't well, I mean, lifestyle things can cause gestational diabetes, but you're not like, the way you're eating isn't making it happen. Not just like that. Like I ate some sugar and now I'm going to get diabetes. It doesn't happen like that. Yeah, Kelly, if you're still producing and you haven't been feeding her for that long, I would definitely talk with your provider. There is something that you can like get in from Canada. Don't tell anybody I said this, but that can help it dry up. Yeah. Leah said, have a great day from Alabama. Leah, you have a great day too. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the likes. Are there more questions? Thank you guys for being here. I would love it if you guys came and joined me in the online prenatal class for couples. Although, B, did you mean yes, you have a question? Sudafed helps dry up milk supply. It can, but it also has other side effects that I'm not that jazzed about personally. So there's something else, and I cannot remember what it is. So talk with your provider and see what they say. B, yes, you have a question. Okay, I'm here. I will wait for it for a minute. But it is smart to not take Sudafed while you're breastfeeding, because I've had so many friends who took it for a cold and then their supply went down and they just really had a hard time bringing it back up. All right, we're waiting for B's question. If anybody else has any, I would love to answer. Otherwise, I think I'm going to curl up and read a book. I'm reading a book on the power of positive thinking, or Stop Overthinking, I think it's called. B, my period came days early this month, was super light. I got a faint positive. Could this be real? Yeah, I mean, it could be implantation bleeding. So sometimes when the placenta attaches, the people will get like a small amount of bleeding. With pregnancy tests, you're much more likely to get a false negative than you are to get a false positive. B, I'm not sure how long ago you got the faint positive, but I would wait a couple days and test again in the early morning and see if it's more positive, not positive. I mean, it could be just like a chemical pregnancy. Yeah, I would test again in a couple days. And I am a fan of like the Dollar Tree pregnancy tests. I don't think you need to be spending a ton of money and getting the EPT ones because they're all really doing the same thing. Yeah. Or, I mean, you can go into your provider and get a test, but I really like doing the urine first thing in the morning because it's most concentrated then. Maria said, I'm 30 weeks and it's getting harder to breathe and getting comfortable. Is that normal? Yeah, especially around 30 weeks, all of a sudden the baby's really trying to get into your lung space, which is super rude of it. Like, guys, we need our lungs, right? But as they do that, your body naturally pushes out your ribs a little bit, but it takes a little bit of time to compensate. So a lot of people will find that around that time, they get more out of breath. Now, if the out of breath doesn't like chill out after a few minutes, you want to call your provider. You shouldn't be out of breath at rest for a while. That's not a great sign. And we want to check you out. Could be blood clots or other issues, but it's not unusual with the whole baby crawling up into your freaking lung space. I do think it's amazing that the body compensates by shifting out your ribs a little bit, though. It's amazing. My sister boyfriend had the shingles on 2 weeks pregnant, been around them, but for Christmas, like if he still has active shingles by then, talk with your provider. I'm not sure on that one. But I would guess he's not that old and hopefully they are gone. But shingles does shed the virus. Have you had chickenpox? Have you had the chickenpox shot? I guess is the question. Because you can't catch shingles, I don't think. You catch chickenpox and then chickenpox like hides in your spinal cord until you're like stressed out and then it causes shingles, I guess. So ask your provider what they think. Does Ensure help baby gain weight in pregnancy? If you are not able to keep a regular diet, Ensure can be helpful. But if you're eating a full diet, I wouldn't include Ensure as well from the research that I've read. Maria, you're welcome. CR, you've had chickenpox and shingles. Yeah, it just hangs out. I mean, Christmas is still a little bit away. Hopefully it's chilled out by then. But if you're uncomfortable with it, I wouldn't have them come. But I don't think it's catchable per se. But I could be wrong. That's not my area. Let's Google it. Is shingles catchable? Not contagious. If you have shingles, you can pass the virus to another person if they come in direct contact with fluids from your active blisters. So if he like bundles up in something, then it shouldn't be an issue. But it's kind of a crazy disease. All right, guys. We've had some good times here. I hope you guys will come join me in my birth class. If you guys ever have questions, you can ask me. You can message me. You can ask questions on my posts. I hope I will see you guys around the internet. Thank you so much for coming. I sure appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. If this is your or this, then you're in the right place. Get ready with me to go interrogate my old MFM. A little backstory. It was a high-risk pregnancy because my son Matthew had a 2-vessel umbilical cord. For those of you who are wondering, umbilical cord should have 2 arteries and 1 vein. And my son only had 2. 1 vein and 1 artery. So because of this, he was high risk. So I went to see maternal fetal medicine. Every single time I went, I would get an ultrasound and I would meet with my MFM doctor.
He was a specialist. So I had my regular OB appointments and then my MFM appointments. For weeks, I would see 2 different doctors on 2 different days. My MFM was supposed to be watching my son and me very carefully and very closely and making sure that there were no problems. He would check his weight, check my amniotic fluid, measure his movements, and he was never right. I actually saw this MFM on my due date, December 21st, 2023. At an appointment on my due date, I said, it'd be really cool if I knew when I'd be having this child because it's getting real close to Christmas and I'm trying to make plans. And she said, I know everybody wants to have their Christmas babies. It's a very popular time to give birth, but if you're getting nervous or if you're just tired of being pregnant, you can call on Christmas morning and see if they're ready beds. And I said, okay, well, while I'm here, I'd like to know how big my son is going to be, just so I know what's coming up as far as labor goes. And he was like, no, it's just an estimate. You don't need to know how big he is. You don't have to worry about it. Basically, not right until usually. I was like, okay, for some mom, maybe I'm just being anxious for no reason. No big deal, I'm not worried about it. I left that appointment on December 21st. And December 22nd, I waited for labor to start, and it didn't start. December 23rd came and went, no labor. And then 3:45 a.m. on Christmas Eve morning, December 24th, I was in labor. My water broke, and it was time to shower and put on my stage sweatshirt and head to the hospital. Then we got to the hospital. There was a heartbeat. Suspect after my water broke, and he nestled down into the birth canal that he compressed his own umbilical cord. And because it was a 2 vessel cord, I guess there's a higher likelihood of it happening, especially if you have a very large child. My son Matthew ended up being 9 pounds 5 ounces. My son was going to be 9 pounds 5 ounces, and he has a 2 vessel cord. And I passed my due date. Why didn't no one talk to me about stillbirth, the risks of going past my due date? What? Why? Why are we doing that? Obviously, I didn't know better then. I didn't think it still happened. I know I'm not alone in that thought. I did not think that stillbirth at full term was still happening. Today, I'm going to see this doctor, and I haven't seen him since December 21st on my due date. From MFM, who was supposed to be my specialist, who was supposed to literally make sure this didn't happen, I have not heard a thing. Not even like a message in the portal being like, we heard what happened. Sorry. Nothing. So, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. And I'm gonna be diplomatic about it because I'm not trying to get security called on me. But I have some words. There's so much change needs to happen in the arena of bereavement. I called his office, said, hi, I'm trying to make an appointment with said doctor. I'm super triggered. I'm not pregnant. I don't have a referral. And she was like, oh, you need a referral. Like I said, I'm not pregnant, so I don't have a referral. He's like, okay, if you're not pregnant, I don't see a reason for you to have to come in here. That became a scam. I said, my son actually died during labor. I never got a chance to talk to this doctor again after because this past year I've been underwater with grief. Because I went to again. She comes back on the phone. She's like, okay, well, because you don't have a referral and you're not pregnant, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this appointment. Make a phone call. Can you just call me? So no, he doesn't do that. Okay. So this guy. So I'm like, okay, let's label this as a preconception appointment. You can label this, as a preconception appointment. Now can hook me up. Just like, how's December 13th? As if I have this going, today's the day. So I'll let you know how it goes. Good luck. Get ready with me to go interrogate my old.
So 5-5-5 rule is 5 days in the bed, 5 days on the bed, and 5 days around the bed. I've never done it with any of my babies before, but I had a really rough postpartum with my 3rd baby, my last baby, and so I was determined to make this postpartum the best. It's actually very rare in most cultures for a freshly postpartum mom to be up and moving and going to pediatrician appointments 2 days after being released from the hospital, doing all the things that us American women do freshly postpartum. So when we got discharged from the hospital, the one stipulation was that the pediatrician on call wanted us to have a scheduled appointment with our pediatrician 24 hours after being released from the hospital, which in my opinion is crazy. I could barely walk in that moment. So what I did was I made the appointment with my pediatrician, who we're really cool with. He's been our pediatrician for all 3 girls. But then when I got home, I called and canceled that appointment and made it for a whole week later. So despite the fact that we're following the 5-5-5 rule where I'm supposed to be in bed with the baby for the full 5 days, the truth is I did leave the house. That was the only time I left the house was for a 1 week follow-up pediatrician appointment. But even our own pediatrician said, like, if the hospital is discharging you, the on-call pediatrician has checked her over, all of her stuff was perfect. There's no reason why you should have to be seen another 24 hours later by your own personal pediatrician. Said that was the hospital's way of basically just like covering her butt. So I got to spend the first 5 days in the bed with the. So 5-5-5 rule.
Get ready with me to go interrogate my old MFM. A little backstory.